Hi guys, so I want to sort of share my experience in Japan. I went to Tokyo last September, and I want to try and keep it short and sweet and not make it overly long because I like to babble and talk about useless things like I am now. Basically, I want to sort of give a rough guide to things that you might want to consider or things you might want to know if you're thinking about going to Tokyo, Japan. I went to Kyoto as well, but I don't think I'll talk about that, otherwise this will get too long. Firstly, I went, just as I mentioned, I went in mid-September, and so the weather was pretty nice. It was still hot, it was still summery, much nicer than London was. I think first thing that everybody will need to consider before they go to any country, and also Japan, is that if you will need a visa to get there. Siren. Okay. Okay, so from anywhere you are, you will need to first consider if you need a visa. From the UK with a British passport, you will not need a visa to go to Japan. You're allowed up to like a 6-month stay or something like that. So where you'll be flying to will most likely be Narita Airport, which is not in Tokyo. It's you'll have to get a Narita Express service, which is a train to get to Tokyo. That train will take about an hour, and I read that train normally, like the fare for that is usually 3,000 yen, which roughly estimated is about £30 here in the UK. But because my boyfriend and I bought a JR rail pass, expenses on the Narita Express were covered. So that's a good thing. But the thing about the JR pass is that it's very expensive. It costs £200, and it's restricted to the Yamanote line and the Chuo line. Those two are lines on the Japanese metro, and that means we could only go on those lines unless we wanted to pay more. But it's pretty good. It gives you unlimited use of those two lines, and you can use it as much as you like. A lot of the big places, not big, but like the places of interest, are located on those lines. I'm not too sure if it was worth it. I can't say if it was like a better deal to buy the JR pass or anything, but I can say it was more convenient. It meant that we didn't have to keep going to the machines and try and work it and buy tickets, which would have been hard for us. But we did have to keep going to the side. We couldn't just go through the gates like everybody else. We'd have to go through a manned gate and show him our rail pass, and he will let us through. So that's that. You might want to consider getting a JR pass for convenience. It is pretty expensive though. £200 is a lot, and that's only for 7 days too. We got a lot of advice from my boyfriend's friend, who had been many times, and he gave us a lot of advice and places to go, etc. So he insisted that we bought it. So we did. We don't know our way around, so he's an expert. We asked him. A good base hotel for you to stay at is Shinjuku. My other friend also said that Shinjuku is where he stays. He stays in a hotel near there. We stayed in a hotel called Sunroute Plaza Hotel. And it's a nice hotel. Downstairs there was Wi-Fi. There wasn't Wi-Fi in the rooms, but the rooms were okay. It wasn't beautiful, but it was in central Shinjuku. It was really close to the station. It was like a 2-minute walk, so it was easy to find and a good location. Shinjuku station leads off to a lot of other stations that you might be interested in, so that's what I mean by a good base. Shinjuku also has many other restaurants and shops and things, so you could sort of wander around at night and things like that. Shops in Japan also tend to close quite late as well. I think it's just the UK which closes so early. Also, I would advise you to save up. It's pretty expensive. I recently saw that Tokyo is one of the most expensive cities to live in the world. I'm not surprised. We went into a shopping centre and it was like £50 for an umbrella and it was on sale. It's both ways. Sometimes you'll find places like you could eat for like a fiver and it's good food too, and sometimes you will find like crazy expensive things. So it's a bit of both, but generally living there you will easily spend a lot of money. Just save up. For any holiday you would consider to save up, so just save up. Also, many people are a bit intimidated about the idea of going to Japan and Tokyo because they are not good at Japanese, and I would say that this is not a necessary thing. Like, you don't have to be very good at Japanese to get around in Tokyo. It's pretty easy to get around yourself, and plus people there are so nice. They will help you out, and by nice you'll have to experience it. If you do not take my word, they are so kind and they are willing to help you, and they're really patient and things like that. They're okay at English, particularly in Tokyo, where I guess they're more exposed to Western culture. I guess they must learn it a bit at school as well, because we did okay. The hotel staff are definitely good English speakers, so you don't need to worry about that. Also, I read on the website a few other things that you might want to think about. Tipping is not essential. Like, you don't have to, they don't expect you to tip basically when you get in a taxi, when you go in the restaurants. They don't expect you to tip. And also toilets. The toilets are really advanced. Like, as you might have heard, Japanese toilets are like really super, like, really advanced for some reason. I don't want to get too much into it, but it's pretty cool. They have like those shooting showery bidets, they call it, and you can you can press like for flushing sounds. I heard that once in a toilet. I've never tried it myself, but I heard it once, and it's very fake, so you might not want to try that. And it's a little bit embarrassing because pressing that button means you have something to hide. Taxis, they're quite easy to use. I wouldn't say that in Tokyo you would necessarily need a taxi so much, but in more remoter areas or like urban area, suburban areas like Kyoto and Okinawa, like where you could be prone to get lost, taxis might be quite useful. They're not overly expensive. You say the place you want to go to and you put onegaishimasu at the end, and it's easy. So that means this place, please. Like, you need to consider the weather there, but it is pretty hot, so when you're wandering around, like, we particularly didn't want to go to the parks and things like that. We went to one and we were just like no, because the sun is just glaring down at you. It's really hot. One other thing that we noticed is that crossing roads, like, people will not just cross the road randomly. Like, it will be at the pedestrian crossings. So we felt really out of place if we wanted to cross the roads at random places, because nobody did that. And also, one thing I noticed whilst I was in Okinawa is that the green man does not mean that you can just go. You still need to look, because I think in Japan it means, like, green man means that the cars coming up front can't move, but the cars coming from the right are allowed to turn into the road, which is quite confusing, because normally green man to me means just go. So you might want to have a look around, and also make sure you cross at pedestrian crossings, because I think that's what Japanese people do, and you want to there's a lot of like etiquette issues in Japan. You need to keep quiet, they're very polite and things like that. So there's many things to consider. Just do what they do. Also, food, I would say the Japanese food there is really good. It's not like the food here. It's not just katsu curry, it's not just udon. There's many variations, and like, it was very much to my taste, so I loved the food there. There's so much to choose from. Not all of it's expensive either, so it's good to explore and look for yourself. There's obviously like the generic places like McDonald's and KFC and things like that. And yeah, I think that's just the couple of things that I wanted to talk about that I remember. If there's anything else, then please do mention it. I really would like some feedback. because this is my first video obviously, and I'd like to know what I'm doing right or wrong, or like what else you'd like me to talk about, or anything you want me to talk about in detail, or just a comment would be so nice. So yeah, I hope this was somewhat useful to you, maybe, and yeah, so I'll talk to you in my next video.